Hello, I'm Jashikins, and welcome to another episode of Jash Reads. Today, it's still a scratch because, of course, my nose had to itch there. But, anyways, today we will be continuing to read Eragon by Christopher Polini, which is the first book in the Inheritance cycle, which was originally only meant to be 3 books, but then the third book had to be split up into 2 books, so yeah. But anyways, a little update on this hectic schedule that's been going on. It's like every other blue moon, I'll finally get a dramatic reading up, whether that be Animorphs or today's Eragon dramatic reading. And one thing about making a schedule is to make sure it's flexible. So if at one point one type of scheduling works, use it, but once that starts to be ineffective, you switch to a new one. So that's what I've been doing throughout my entire blogging career, is switching up when need be, when things change. So I think I, I think I have a way now to make everything run smoothly, do true Animorphs dramatic readings, one on Monday, one on Friday, and then one Eragon dramatic reading on Wednesday like normal, except when, hey, I have a full-length review to do, and I do that instead. Yeah, that was another... Okay, but anyways, actually, let's get started. We're going to be continuing on the same chapter as before, and like I said, in the last Eragon dramatic reading, I'm trying to read more each time I upload an Eragon dramatic reading because I only do them once a week, so, So, let's get started. Outside, a blustery wind blew smoke from the adjacent buildings into their faces. Storm clouds hid the spine and covered the valley while a curtain of snow advanced toward the village, obscuring the foothills. Eragon leaned heavily on Gertrude as they made their way through Carvajal. Horst had built his 2-story house on a hill so he could enjoy a view of the mountains. He had lavished all of his skill on it. The shale roof shadowed a railed balcony that extended from a tall window on the second floor. Each water spout was a snarling gargoyle, and every window and door was framed by carvings of serpents, hearts, ravens, and knotted vines. The door was opened by Elaine, Horst's wife, a small, willowy woman with refined features and silky blonde hair pinned into a bun. Her dress was demure and neat, and her movements graceful. "Please come in," she said softly. They stepped over the threshold into a large, well-lit room. A staircase with a polished balustrade curved down to the floor. The walls were the color of honey. Elaine gave Eragon a sad smile, but addressed Gertrude. "I was just about to send for you. He isn't doing well. You should see him right away." "Elaine, you'll have to help Eragon up the stairs," Gertrude said, then hurried up them 2 at a time. It's okay. I can do it myself." "Are you sure?" asked Elaine. He nodded, but she looked doubtful. "Well, As soon as you're done, come visit me in the kitchen. I have a fresh baked pie you might enjoy." As soon as she left, he sagged against the wall, welcoming the support. Then he started up the stairs, one painful step at a time. When he reached the top, he looked down a long hallway dotted with doors. The last one was open slightly. Taking a breath, he lurched toward it. Katrina stood by a fireplace, boiling rags. She looked up, murmured a condolence, and then returned to her work. Gertrude stood beside her, grinding herbs for a poultice. A bucket by her feet held snow melting into ice water. Garrow lay on a bed piled high with blankets. Sweat covered his brow, and his eyeballs flickered blindly under their lids. The skin on his face was shrunken like a cadaver's. He was still, save for subtle tremors from his shallow breathing. Eragon touched his uncle's forehead with a feeling of unreality. It burned against his hand. He apprehensively lifted the edge of the blankets and saw that Garrow's many wounds were bound with strips of cloth. Where the bandages were being changed, the burns were exposed to the air. They had not begun to heal. Eragon looked at Gertrude with hopeless eyes. "Can't you do anything about these?" She pressed a rag into the bucket of ice water, then draped the cool cloth over Garrow's head. "I've tried everything. Salves, poultices, tinctures, but nothing works. If the wound's closed, he would have a better chance. Still, things may turn for the better. He's hardy and strong." Eragon moved to a corner and sank to the floor. "This isn't the way things are supposed to be." Silence swallowed his thoughts. He stared blankly at the bed. After a while, he noticed Katrina kneeling beside him. She put an arm around him. When he did not respond, she diffidently left. Sometime later, the door opened and Horace came in. He talked to Gertrude in a low voice, then approached Eragon. "Come on. You need to get out of here." Before Eragon could protest, Horace dragged him to his feet and shepherded him out the door. "I want to stay," he complained. "You need a break and fresh air. Don't worry. You can go back soon enough," consoled Horace. Eragon grudgingly let the smith help him downstairs into the kitchen. Hearty smells from half a dozen dishes, rich with spices and herbs, filled the air. Outreach and Baldur were there, talking with their mother as she kneaded bread. The brothers fell silent as they saw Eragon, but he had heard enough to know that they were discussing Garrow. "Here, sit down," said Horst, offering a chair. Eragon sank into it gracefully. "Thank you." His hands were shaking slightly, so he clasped them in his lap. A plate, piled high with food, was set before him. Not exactly a plate of food, but, You don't have to eat, said Elaine. But it's there if you want. She returned to her cooking as he picked up a fork. He could barely swallow a few bites. How do you feel? Asked Horst. Terrible. The smith waited a moment. I know this isn't the best time, but we need to know. What happened? My headphones are not agreeing with me today. Lovely. I don't really remember. Eragon, said Horst, leaning forward. I was one of the people who went out to your farm. Your house didn't just fall apart. Something tore it to pieces. Surrounding it were tracks of a gigantic beast I've never seen or heard of before. Others saw them too. And now, if there's a shade or a monster roaming around, we have to know. You're the only one who can tell us. Eragon knew he had to lie. When I left Carvajal, he counted up the time. 4 days ago, there were strangers in town asking about a stone like the one I found. He gestured at Horst. You talked to me about them, and because of that, I hurried home. All eyes were upon him. He licked his lips. Nothing happened that night. Next morning, I finished my chores and went walking in the forest. Before long, I heard an explosion and saw smoke above the trees. I rushed back as fast as I could, but whoever did it was already gone. I dug through the wreckage and found Garrow. So then you put him on the plank and dragged him back? Asked Albrecht. Yes, said Eragon. But before I left, I looked at the path to the road. There were 2 pairs of tracks on it, both of them men's. He dug in his pocket and pulled out the scrap of black fabric. This was clenched in Garrow's hand. I think it matches what those strangers were wearing. He set it on the table. It does, said Horst. He looked both thoughtful and angry. And what of your legs? How were they injured? I'm not sure, said Eragon, shaking his head. I think it happened when I dug Garrow out, but I don't know. It wasn't until the blood started dripping down my legs that I noticed it. That's horrible, exclaimed Elaine. We should pursue those men, stated Albridge hotly. They can't get away with this. With a pair of horses, we could catch them tomorrow and bring them back here. Put that foolishness out of your head, said Horst. They could probably pick you up like a baby and throw you in a tree. Remember what happened to the house? We don't want to get in the way of those people. Besides, they have what they want now. He looked at Eragon. They did take the stone, didn't they? It 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 wasn't in the house. Then there's no reason for them to return now that they have it. He gave Eragon a piercing look. You didn't mention anything about those strange tracks. Do you know where they came from? Eragon shook his head. I didn't see them. Baldor abruptly spoke. I don't like this. Too much of this rings of wizardry. Who are these men? Are they shades? Why do they want the stone? And how could they have destroyed the house except with dark powers? You may be right, Father. The stone might be all they wanted, but I think we will see them again. Silence followed his words. And that's enough for today. Yeah. So I'm trying to expand how much I read per day. So hopefully this works out in the long run. So when Eragon's telling the Horst and his family about what really happened, I feel he's sad because his life has been turned upside down. I mean, before this whole, Garrow probably on his deathbed happened, he was also having to deal with the very common thing of when you grow up, you and your siblings split apart. Usually just physical distance, hopefully. Yeah. And, the normal changes of life. And then he gets thrown into, oh, you're a dragon rider, so you're going to live a lot longer. Your life's going to get a hell of a lot more complicated. Now, Garrow's fucked up. And so, and Eragon knows he has to hide the truth from Horst and his family to help protect them. And so to him, Garrow was the last semblance of normalcy in his life, and now that is gone. So when he's talking with these people, he'd really want, someone to talk to at this point, someone to be honest with, but he can't. And then he's still ravaged with guilt of what happened to Garrow, blaming himself for it. I mean, maybe things would have turned out differently if Eragon was there. Maybe they'd be the same and just, maybe Eragon be dead. So he has all this guilt and no one left to turn to. And we get to see Garrow. And before we read for this dramatic reading, I thought he just died at the house and that was it. Because I think I might have stated this before, but the inheritance cycle does borrow heavily from other fiction. And that's a whole different debate in and of itself, which I won't get to here. But I figured since, sort of like Star Wars, Luke is visiting with Obi-Wan Kenobi and then goes back to, his home and finds his uncle and aunt dead. So I was like, man, that's going to be totally what happened to Garrow. And no, it's like, oh, you want to feel pain? Let's twist that knife in there. Before you just got Eragon's guilt, which was great enough. And now you have, hey, look it! Here's Garrow. He's still alive, but barely. It's like, wow. I think I read the first Eragon book in my mid-teens, and I just loved authors like this that would treat their intended audience, young adults, as actual adults, saying, yes, there's going to be some pretty bad shit in here, but you can deal with it. That's that's a very good example of this is for kids. Oh, jeez. But anyway, my question for today's video, which I'm going to try to get back on track of doing a video every Wednesday, Monday, and Friday at least. Let's see. Question for today's video. Let's see. Sometimes questions come really easily to me, and sometimes it's like, I don't know anything right now. Okay. What do you think would be more impactful for the story if Garrow had died in the house in that wreckage, or do you think seeing Garrow's wounds and everything makes it more impactful? Because at the house you have it and it's like, oh yeah, he's dead, but is the prolonged pain more impactful or not? Sorry, it's a bad question, but the only one I could come up with. So comment down below and let me know your opinions. And hey, is for horses or is that alfalfa? But also comment down below with anything else you noticed about this chapter, or more technically, the part of the chapter I read. The good, the bad, the ugly. Let's start a very nerdy conversation down below. And remember, no major spoilers. I'm hoping that people will get into the inheritance cycle via these videos. So there's some major twists and turns that happen that when you're reading it for the first time, you should have no awareness whatsoever of. So please remember that. And if you would like to get your very own copy of Eragon by Christopher Polini, everywhere I post this video, I will be putting a link to where you can buy this lovely, lovely book. That since, it's thick enough that, you could use it as a good enough weapon, I'm not going to try to joke. I was thinking about jokingly smacking myself with it, but I messed that up. It went not end well. And also, like this video if you like soup. Nice soup. Yes, last night for dinner I had broccoli cheddar soup. Because I just need something light, nothing big, but yeah, I like that. But what's your favorite type of soup? Also comment down below, and also remember to like if you like soup. And remember to subscribe to this YouTube channel. I will not only be reading Eragon, but I will be reading the entire inheritance cycle. I'm also doing an Animorphs Dramatic reading where I'm reading the entire series. And I also get, every now and again, I get mini reviews out, and I'll get the Raven Speaks episodes out every now and again, and the Raven Speaks is just random topics I get interested about, and I feel I need to speak up, but they're short videos. And I also do long reviews. And I've been doing Patreon exclusive long reviews of the Dune series, so that's why you haven't seen many of those up, over the past year. And my next long review that will be getting out will be for everyone to view and will be of this lovely book. And as you can see on the cover of Midnight Sun by Stephanie Meyer, it's pomegranate. And it relates to Hades and Persephone, which the book continuously tells you. Again and again. And again, like if you didn't get that metaphor at first, trust me, you will get it by the end of the book, because And that amazingly enough was something that wasn't able to get into the review. So yeah, I'm still writing that review though. So, and I hope everyone is having a fantastic day. My first video in probably over a week, so need to change that up. As I said in the beginning of this video, schedules need to change from time to time so you actually get the workouts. And yeah. So I hope you're having an excellent day. I'm going to end this video because now I can't think of anything good to say now. So bye.